Time for another giant rasp foot file cheese grater thing. What do we call this thing? It's got so many names. But first, here's my left foot prior to going in. My right foot, which I showed you yesterday, hadn't been shaved in almost 5 months. Look at this crack. But this one had been shaved about 6 weeks ago. And so I did come in with more confidence this time because I had just done my right foot, but also a bit of trepidation because the skin was much thinner than on the other foot. But I discovered pretty quickly, thankfully, that just like with the other foot, once I got past the really hard outer layer of the callus, it wasn't removing much of the under layer. It's all the same skin, but the skin on the outside, despite being moisturized all the time, gets very hard and kind of super cornified is, I think, one of the words. Like it becomes crusty and it becomes very dry. And so it's like it behaves differently than the skin, which is like molecularly the same underneath, but which kind of always retains moisture from sweat and body oils and from the moisturization that I put on. It kind of stays on instead of drying out. So anyway, once the rasp touches that skin underneath the super dry outer layer, it just takes off a lot less, and I have to use more pressure like I'm doing here with 2 hands to be able to get it to come off at all. And so some of it like comes up readily because it's dry, but anyway, so I didn't have to be as afraid as I was, because once I started getting the thick outer layer off, it really just calmed down and like was a lot harder to go much deeper. So in my opinion, it feels really, really safe. I'm going to answer a whole bunch of questions now because there were so many on the last video. A couple of people, now resoundingly, like all the comments were positive, and especially dozens of people, maybe like 100 people saying, I have this rasp and I am absolutely obsessed with it too. So most of us are on the same page, but there were a couple people coming in and saying like, my wife's an esthetician or I'm a nail tech and this is not allowed and this is a bad idea and it's too easy to go so deep. And like, okay, I respect your opinion and your experience. I don't have normal skin. So I cannot give advice for normal skin. I can tell you what I've heard, which is that like if you have regular skin with callus on top, you should probably soak it first. You also should go within really light pressure and probably not even push at all, just like let the weight of the rasp itself do the work. But I have never had normal skin and I never will, so I don't know what that experience is like. For my skin, if you have this type of skin, you don't have to soak, although there were a couple people with this type of skin who commented saying, I actually do soak. So your mileage may vary and everybody's different, and surprise, we're all unique. But I do not think this is very dangerous. Like compared with shaving with a blade, like I do with my Keratoderma blade, this is like so dummy proof. It's not that easy to go very deep. And I was able to get that whole layer off pretty fast. And after some cleanup, I came back in and like tried to tidy it all up. And you can see some skin is still coming off. But like now that I'm on this under layer, a lot less was coming off. I had to really push to get it to peel at all. And that pile of skin that came off from this second go around was just really small. Other questions I got a lot were, am I going to use this instead of using the Keratoderma blade shaver? And the answer is absolutely yes. The other one is so much more dangerous, so much more fussy, so much more like delicate. I have to be so careful. It requires an enormous amount of skill versus this is just like, you know, user error avoided. You can just use it and go for it. You can see I was able to do my big toe, and I actually even tried it on my little toes, and it worked really great for getting the like dry, thick edges off the side of them, but still didn't go as thin as clipping. And I was unable to get some of the sides and the like part of my toe that's underneath the ball on the top. And so I'm still going to have to do clipping toe maintenance. And I only did these 2 toes because I have cracks forming on those back 2 toes. And as I started to go in there, they were just starting to feel like the cracks were stretching, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I'll still be doing toe maintenance, but I may never shave my feet again, which is why it was so mind-blowing. And I was going nuts yesterday saying this was like life-changing, because it truly is. People ask if I'm going to use this for my son. Yes, this is definitely what we're going to do next time. And I think, in fact, I'm going to try it on his hands first. And people were asking to see the jar. I'll make a longer video about this jar, answering questions about it soon, but here it is.